What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bringing another little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the moon in Virgo in the sixth house. I'm like, look at the moon working. When you talk about the moon, the nature of the moon is just like how we feel. This is where the emotions are happening because the moon is always waxing and waning. She moves signs every couple of days here. But this is how you want to be nurtured, how you want to nourish yourself, and and what you kind of want others to do for you. This is a very personal place when you work with the moon, a very vulnerable when we're working with the moon placement. But I find that when you tune into the cycles of who you are, follow your lunar phases and things, the moon helps you to not just deeply understand yourself and understand the things that you're feeling, but understand the things that other people are feeling too, to be able to caretake and to provide for them in a different way there. So it's very important when you're working with the moon. They're very in tune to cycles and things. Again, how to take care of the body. And then when you talk about Virgo, Virgo is they're ruled by Mars. They're ruled by Mercury, and they are the mutable Earth sign, and they are receptive or yin in nature. And I find with Virgo, there is a very strong intellectual energy that comes, especially in the material realm, because I mean, the body is a manifestation of the material. So, one, I find that Virgo, and I'm just talking in general, it pays to have especially with this placement, to have a deep relationship with the body, to understand its cycles, to understand its needs and how its needs change over time. But that's the great thing about Virgos, that their minds work, the puzzles to analyze and go, okay, if I do this thing, this happens. If I do this thing, this happens. Okay, I just need to change this, or I need to learn this skill. This is when we're thinking about Virgo in terms of Mercury, this is where Mercury really shines and is able to take its thoughts when it's in Gemini, but now really ground them in Virgo. So there's a very high practicality, but functionality with Virgo. Virgo, there's an expertise that can come and again, I'm just talking about Virgo energy in general, because they have this discernment, between what's working and what doesn't, and how to improve something, what needs to be. There's a sharp mind with that. And then when you talk about the sixth house, who doesn't love this house? This in traditional astrology was known as the house of bad fortune. And I like to tell people when I'm talking about this house is I have the north node here. So it's like I'm actually going through a lunar return that's in the sixth house right now. So listen, I get sixth house things. And we all go through sixth house transits, so no one is immune to these things. But when some of the themes that if I did say this is the house of bad fortune, but some of the themes that this house covers can be like misfortunes, troubles, bad luck, illnesses, diseases, accidents, injuries, jobs. This can deal with even like armed or military services, and enemies is a kind of a combative house. And this also, randomly enough, and it's like it was small animals, but it was animals as workers. So you see, there's still that work aspect, and sometimes animals will come at you. So that's that's just something to think about. But when you're working with this placement, some things to think about. You're gonna want to, or you'd have an Aries rising by whole sign, but you're gonna want to look to see where Mercury's at, because Mercury is going to rule this house and is gonna also rule your third house as well, which is going to be your house of like communications. This is going to be like your siblings, your relatives, your immediate environment, short travels as far as like your commute and things along those lines. And then you're going to want to look to the moon is going to be in charge of your fourth house, which is going to be your house of like your home, your parents, your literal foundation, your ancestors, things of the property, things along those lines. So some things that you want to think about when you're working with this placement is one, like I said, considering, like, I like to think of this as a house of like preventative maintenance. You do want to make sure that, considering that there's illnesses, disease, injuries, and things, you want to make sure that you're taking care of the body, that you just have just good spatial awareness, and really learning how to work constructively with the body, to do things, making sure to check that the foods that you're eating are things that energize and fuel you up, as opposed to just like doing things maybe like emotional eating when you're snacking and things aren't going so tough. That's something too. Instead of like routine thinking about with Virgo, I like a different R word. Thinking about rituals with Virgo. Thinking about different practices that raise your vibration, that take care of, again, that just take care of you. This is, the body is a high maintenance plant. So, and Virgo can work with that. It's very predictable in what the body says, especially when you know it, when you know it inside and out. So, and this is just something too, just having a good relationship with just like your doctors or your energy healers, things along those lines. I think that could be great. And this also could be too where you find yourself maybe in service of that. Maybe you go and visit homes, for example. Maybe you're like a traveling nurse where you do some sort of work like that, or maybe you happen to work as a doctor, or again as an energy healer, maybe a aromatherapist, whatever that might look like for you. But I think that's something to have some sort of like rituals there, and you can maybe turn that into your job, turn your rituals into some sort of like profit, something that you do as a daily service that maybe you offer for your community or something like that, or just even just on a base level offer to your family, and maybe if you have siblings and things, and maybe word of mouth is a powerful thing. That the fact that Mercury rules these houses, again, is it can be very busy. Do this stuff at your, if you have a job, but maybe you have like a side gig, that's something, offer these things at your job, and then people will tell stuff, because there's something powerful about that word of mouth too, because it's one thing to read things online, but when another person tells you about something and gives you the links for this thing, really kind of like vouches for this, that your word holds weight. So that's something too that I would think about with this moon placement as well. You could really get a lot of satisfaction, maybe even in your workspace as well. I would be mindful too, maybe about just like how others do work compared to you. Because I could see this as being a very hardworking moon sign, being one that feels like it always has to be busy, always has to do things. And I would just say, know that other people probably can't keep up with you. Like, I think it's, but not expecting the worst for them. Allow yourself to be surprised, but maybe set like, I know that, like, listen, I have extremely high expectations, and that's just a thing for you. You know what I mean? I do think that there is sometimes that Virgo energy can be a bit overcritical, can be a bit harsh, especially I think in a service house like this. I think that maybe you could give too much of yourself, especially maybe even to like your families, your things, and that could be where you may need to have, and that might even be the vice versa, something to think about. Depending on how the moon's aspected, maybe there is a need to maybe charge more. Maybe you do just tend to give out your services a lot for free, and it's just like where that's fine and dandy. But if people just come in and take, and nothing's being, you're not getting fueled up from this, then what's going on? So that may be something. And that may create some harsh feelings. That may create some people where what's going on, Moon and Virgo? I thought we were cool once, and it's like we still cool, but it's now it ain't free 99 no more. Now it's like 99. So that's just something to, I think, to think about there with that. Just like, and I think too, we're just like, I think I mentioned about just having rituals when you're maybe going through the kind of tough times, when we're going through illnesses and things, and having stuff like maybe different recipes. Have like a certain soup recipe when you're not feeling the greatest, or maybe have that, you share that with someone. Having those sort of just like self-care regimens, I look at another R word, can be very relaxing, rejuvenating. We can just keep this going on, replenishing. I love it. Working with animals, that might be something too. That may be something where animals are a very integral part of your life. They may be not just as service animals, but just like you just may actually just really, really love animals. There may be a deep relationship there with that sort of stuff. And you might find yourself working with animals, maybe working with like sheep and things, like, again, where animals, there's nothing wrong with just like having domestic cats cats and dogs and fish and things. But when an animal not only is something that you love, but can also eat your grass and fertilize the land and pound out the land and give the earth a massage, and like there's something cool, something to think about. But these are just some general things. There's a lot that you could see, that you could talk about with this placement, and I would love to hear if you have this placement or know someone who's working with this placement down in the comment section. Tell us how this may be manifesting for you and how you're working with this. And if you want to work with this, maybe you got some insights today. You're like, oh, I never thought about that. Oh, I hadn't considered that. Oh, this Justin guy. You know what? There's a link down in the description box to get in touch, like an email to get in touch with me, and we can go further into that. Really kind of explore what your chart looks like, because it's better to have just it's good to have like the one placement and have this relationship with the moon, but the whole chart really does tell a more complete and rich story that you can get from this, especially working with this stuff over time, working with your lunar returns. Oh, that's brilliant information. But hence why I've been thinking about these themes of the sixth house. This is something I've been going through here quite a few times this solar return year. But also, if you want, in the description box, if you want to check out the transits that are going on, see when there are planets going through Virgo, when they, with all these Pisces placements, there's been a lot of oppositions that have been going on with your moon placement. Jupiter's been squaring your moon if you being in Gemini. But so these are things, if you want to just keep an eye on where the planets are at, how to work with the transits, there's that information. I release videos every Mercury day, which is a Wednesday. And then speaking of work with the moon, if you want to work with the moon on a regular basis, on my other channel, The Chariot and Friends, there's a link for that. I release videos every time the moon changes signs, talk about what phase she's in, when she's going void of course. It's just a good old time. And I talk about Cancer, but it's not just geared towards Cancer. It's like anybody can work with the moon. Everyone's got Cancer placements. The moon rules Cancer, so. And yeah, that's just something to work with, to develop a relationship with your moon, especially I think with this placement, absolutely. But until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep rays that vibrate you through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one. Later.